If you quit every time life punches you, then this story is about you. Not because you want to become a boxing champion, not because you want to become famous, but because one day, maybe very soon, life will put you in a corner where nobody believes in you, a corner where people laugh at your dreams, a corner where fear whispers, "Just give up." And in that moment, the person you become will depend on the decision you make. Most people know Muhammad Ali as a boxer, but very few understand what made him different. It wasn't his fists. It wasn't his speed. It wasn't even his confidence. It was something much deeper, something invisible. A mindset so powerful that even when the world tried to break him, he refused to bend. And by the end of this story, you may never look at your own struggles the same way again. Because the greatest fight Muhammad Ali ever fought was not inside a boxing ring. It was inside himself. And that's where our story begins. Imagine being a young boy, poor, unknown, ordinary. Nobody sees greatness in you. Nobody predicts your future. Nobody thinks your name will be remembered decades later. You're just another kid walking through the streets of Louisville, Kentucky. One day, something happens, something small, so small that most people would forget it. Someone steals your bicycle. That's it, a bicycle. For many people, it's a bad day. For Muhammad Ali, it became the beginning of a legend. The young boy was furious. His heart burned with anger. He wanted revenge. He wanted to find the thief. He wanted someone to pay. So he went looking for help. And that's when he met a police officer named Joe Martin. Ali told him he wanted to beat up whoever stole the bike. Joe Martin looked at the angry boy and said something that would change history. "If you're going to fight somebody, you better learn how." Think about that. One sentence. One moment. One conversation. Sometimes your entire future is hiding inside a moment that seems completely ordinary. Most people miss those moments. Ali didn't. He walked into a boxing gym, and something happened. Something clicked for the first time. He found a place where his energy had direction, a place where discipline mattered, a place where effort created results, a place where nobody cared about excuses, only work. And that's an important lesson. Many people spend years trying to find motivation, but motivation is unreliable. What changes lives is finding a purpose strong enough to pull you forward. Muhammad Ali found that purpose. But don't imagine the movie version. Don't imagine instant success. Don't imagine greatness appearing overnight, because that's not how life works. And it's definitely not how champions are made. Behind every powerful victory, there are thousands of invisible moments, early mornings, painful training, lonely sacrifices, days when nobody is clapping, days when nobody is watching, days when quitting feels easier than continuing. Ali experienced all of them. While other kids were sleeping, he trained. While others were relaxing, he trained. While others were making excuses, he trained. And slowly, something began to change. Not just his body, his identity. Because confidence doesn't come from positive thinking. Confidence comes from evidence. Evidence that you can trust yourself. Evidence that you can keep promises to yourself. Evidence that you can continue when things get hard. That's why so many people struggle with confidence today. They keep waiting to feel confident before they act. Ali acted first, then confidence followed. And as he improved, something unusual happened. His belief in himself became enormous. Not normal confidence. Not healthy confidence. The kind of confidence that made people laugh. The kind of confidence that sounded ridiculous. He would tell people he was the greatest. Before he became the greatest, Think about how strange that is. Most people wait for proof before they believe. Ali believed before the proof arrived. Now, this is where many people misunderstand him. They think he was arrogant. But look deeper, much deeper, because there is a psychological truth hidden here. The world constantly tries to tell you who you are. Teachers, friends, family, strangers, society, social media. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone has a label. Everyone has a box they want you to stay inside. And if you're not careful, you start believing those labels. You start shrinking. You start playing small. You start becoming less than what you could be. Muhammad Ali refused to accept other people's limits. He created his own identity, long before the world accepted it. That's a powerful lesson, especially today, because many people are living inside prisons they cannot see. The prison of other people's opinions. The prison of fear. The prison of embarrassment. The prison of what if I fail? And those prisons are often stronger than steel. Years passed. Ali kept winning, fight after fight. Victory after victory. The world started paying attention. The young boy, with impossible confidence, was becoming impossible to ignore. Then came the moment that changed everything. The heavyweight championship, the biggest stage, the brightest lights, the greatest opportunity. Across from him stood Sonny Liston, a terrifying champion. Powerful, experienced, dangerous. Most experts believed Ali had no chance. Almost everyone expected him to lose. People laughed at him, mocked him, doubted him. Sound familiar? Maybe you've experienced your own version of that. Maybe people doubted your dream. Maybe they laughed at your goals. Maybe they told you to be realistic. Maybe they made you feel foolish for wanting more. That's what happened to Ali. But here's something remarkable. He didn't borrow confidence from other people. He generated it himself. That's a rare ability. Because most people let the crowd decide their worth. If people praise them, they feel valuable. If people criticize them, they feel worthless. Their confidence rises and falls depending on external approval. Ali was different. His belief came from within, and that made him dangerous. The night of the fight arrived. The world watched. Millions expected a disaster. Millions expected humiliation. Millions expected Sonny Liston to crush the young challenger. But Muhammad Ali saw something nobody else saw: possibility. While others saw limits, he saw opportunity. While others saw danger, he saw destiny. And then something unbelievable happened. The underdog won. The impossible happened. The doubters went silent. The critics had no words. The world was shocked. Muhammad Ali became heavyweight champion of the world, just like he said he would. But here's the lesson most people miss. Winning that title was not the victory. The real victory happened years earlier, inside a gym, inside his mind, inside thousands of moments where he chose discipline instead of comfort. That's where champions are built. Not on stage, not under lights, not during applause. In private, in silence, in struggle. Because every public victory is created by private decisions. And that's true for you too. Whether you're learning English, building a business, trying to lose weight, trying to overcome fear, trying to improve your life, the world only sees the result. But the result is never the story. The story is everything that happened when nobody was watching. And just when it seemed like Muhammad Ali had reached the top, life delivered a punch far more powerful than any opponent. A punch that money couldn't stop. A punch that fame couldn't stop. A punch that would test every belief he had. Because sometimes the greatest challenge arrives after success. Sometimes life asks a terrifying question. Now that you have everything, what are you willing to lose for your principles? And Muhammad Ali was about to answer that question in a way that would shock the entire world. The year was 1967. Muhammad Ali was no longer just a boxer. He was one of the most famous people on earth. His face was everywhere. His words filled newspapers. His fights attracted millions. He had achieved what many people spend their entire lives chasing: success, status, money, recognition. The dream from the outside. His life looked perfect, but life has a strange habit. Just when everything seems secure, it asks a question that reveals who you really are. Not who you pretend to be, not who people think you are, who you actually are. And for Muhammad Ali, that question arrived in the form of war. At the time, the United States was deeply involved in the Vietnam War. Young men were being drafted, sent thousands of miles away. Many obeyed. Many felt they had no choice. But Ali looked at the situation differently. He believed the war violated his religious beliefs. And he made a decision that would cost him almost everything. He refused to go. Now, pause for a moment. Imagine standing where he stood. Imagine being at the peak of your career. Everything you've worked for is finally yours. The money, the fame, the opportunities. Then suddenly you're told, choose, keep everything, or stand for what you believe. Most people like to think they would choose courage until courage becomes expensive. Until courage costs something real. That's when things change. Because principles are easy when they're free. The real test comes when they have a price. And Muhammad Ali paid that price. The backlash was immediate, brutal, relentless. The public turned against him. Sponsors disappeared. Critics attacked him. Many newspapers portrayed him as a villain. People who once cheered now hated him. And then came the devastating blow. His boxing license was taken away. His heavyweight title was stripped. The championship he fought so hard to win. Gone, just like that. Think about the emotional weight of that moment. Years of sacrifice. Years of discipline. Years of struggle. Taken away. Not because he lost a fight. Because he refused to abandon his beliefs. And suddenly, the world champion became an outsider. No fights. No title. No income from boxing. No certainty about the future. For many people, this would have been the breaking point, the moment they compromise, the moment they surrender, the moment they tell themselves, it's not worth it. But Ali refused, again. And this is where his story becomes bigger than sports. Because now, we're no longer talking about boxing, we're talking about identity. One of the most important psychological battles every human being faces. The battle between acceptance and authenticity. Most people desperately want acceptance to fit in, to avoid criticism, to avoid conflict, to avoid rejection. It's natural. Human beings are wired for belonging. But sometimes belonging comes at a cost. Sometimes the crowd demands that you betray yourself. And in those moments, you must choose. Will you keep your comfort or keep your soul? Muhammad Ali chose his soul. The years that followed were incredibly difficult. 3 years. Think about that. 3 years away from the sport he loved. 3 years during what should have been the prime of his career. 3 years watching opportunities disappear. 3 years watching other fighters compete while he sat on the sidelines. And here's something most people don't understand. Waiting can be more painful than struggling. Because when you're struggling, at least you're moving, at least you're fighting, at least you're doing something. But waiting forces you to sit with uncertainty. Waiting forces you to trust a future you cannot see. Waiting tests your faith, your patience, Your identity. Many dreams die during the waiting season, not because people fail, because they become tired, they become discouraged, they stop believing. Imagine waking up every morning not knowing if you'll ever return. Imagine hearing critics say your career is over. Imagine watching younger fighters take your place. Imagine feeling forgotten. That's what Ali faced, yet something incredible happened. He didn't let circumstances define him. He didn't let temporary setbacks become permanent identities. And that's a lesson many people desperately need today. Because too many people confuse a chapter with the entire story. They fail an exam, and suddenly they believe they're failures. They lose a job, and suddenly they believe they're worthless. They make mistakes speaking English, and suddenly they believe they're not intelligent. They experience rejection, and suddenly they believe they're unlovable. One event, one setback, one difficult season. And they build an entire identity around it. Muhammad Ali refused to do that. He understood something powerful. A setback is an event, not an identity. Read that again. A setback is an event, not an identity. The storm is not who you are. The struggle is not who you are. The failure is not who you are. The criticism is not who you are. They're experiences, not definitions. Years later, when people looked back on Ali's life, they admired his courage. But courage never feels heroic while you're living it. While you're living it, courage feels terrifying, lonely, uncertain, painful. People see the glory afterward. They rarely see the fear beforehand. Eventually, after years of legal battles and public debate, Muhammad Ali was allowed to return to boxing. But the world had changed, and so had he. He was older, slower. Many experts believed his best years were behind him. Some thought the forced absence had permanently damaged his career. Others believed he would never regain what he lost. Again, the doubts returned. Again, the criticism returned. Again, the predictions returned. It's funny, isn't it? No matter how much you achieve, people still doubt you. No matter how many victories you collect, someone always believes you can't do it, which teaches us another important truth. You will never reach a level where criticism disappears, so stop waiting for universal approval. It doesn't exist. The people waiting for everyone to support them before taking action wait forever. Muhammad Ali learned to move despite criticism, not after it, despite it. And that's where real freedom begins. When your actions are no longer controlled by other people's opinions. When your self-worth no longer depends on applause. When your identity no longer changes every time someone disagrees with you, that's power. Real power. Not dominance, not fame. Inner power. The kind nobody can take away. Ali stepped back into the ring, and slowly, fight by fight, he climbed again. Not because it was easy, because he refused to stop. And then came another challenge. Perhaps the biggest boxing challenge of his life. A man named George Foreman. Foreman wasn't just another champion. He looked unstoppable. A force of nature. Young, strong, explosive, terrifying. He had demolished opponent after opponent. Many people believed Foreman would destroy Ali. Some feared it might even be dangerous. The odds were against him once again. The pattern was repeating: doubt, pressure, fear, uncertainty. The same ingredients that appear before many of life's greatest moments. And most people never realize this. They think fear means stop. They think uncertainty means turn back. They think discomfort means they're on the wrong path. But often, those feelings appear right before breakthrough. The future has a strange way of disguising opportunity as difficulty. And Muhammad Ali was about to prove it once again. The fight would take place in Zaire. A fight so famous that history would remember it forever. A fight that would become more than a sporting event, a battle of youth versus experience, power versus intelligence, strength versus strategy. And nobody knew it yet. But Muhammad Ali was preparing one of the greatest comebacks the world had ever seen. The kind of comeback that would teach millions a lesson about resilience. A lesson far bigger than boxing. A lesson about what happens when a human being refuses to surrender. But before the first punch was thrown, Ali made a decision that shocked everyone around him. A decision that looked crazy. A decision that looked dangerous. A decision that would either make him a genius or destroy him completely. And that decision would change history forever. The night air in Zaire felt heavy, electric. Tens of thousands of people packed into the stadium. Millions more watched from around the world. The atmosphere wasn't just excitement. It was tension, because everyone knew what was supposed to happen. George Foreman was supposed to win. Foreman wasn't merely a champion. He looked invincible. Every punch seemed capable of ending a fight. Opponents didn't just lose to him. They were destroyed. Experts studied the matchup. Analysts made predictions. Commentators discussed possibilities. And most of them reached the same conclusion. Muhammad Ali was too old, too slow, too worn down. His best days were behind him. History had already written the ending, or so they thought. But here's something fascinating about extraordinary people. They don't see reality the same way most people do. When everyone sees a wall, they look for a door. When everyone sees defeat, they search for opportunity. When everyone sees limits, they ask a dangerous question. What if they're wrong? Muhammad Ali had asked that question his entire life. And now he was about to ask it again. The bell rang. The fight began. And almost immediately, something strange happened. Ali wasn't fighting the way people expected. Instead of constantly moving away from Foreman, he leaned against the ropes. The crowd was confused. Commentators were confused. Experts were confused. Foreman attacked relentlessly, punch after punch, round after round. The champion unleashed enormous power, and Ali absorbed it. The strategy looked insane, dangerous, impossible. Many people watching thought he was making a terrible mistake. But Muhammad Ali understood something that most people never learn. Not every battle is won with force. Some battles are won with patience. And patience is incredibly difficult because patience feels passive. It feels weak. It feels slow. But sometimes patience is the strongest move available. Think about your own life. How often do people quit because results aren't immediate? They start learning English. After a few weeks, they don't sound fluent. So they stop, they start exercising. After a month, they don't look different. So they stop, they start building a business. After several failures, they give up. They mistake slow progress for no progress. They mistake temporary discomfort for permanent defeat. Ali didn't. While Foreman was throwing punches, Ali was studying, observing, calculating, waiting. Every round revealed information. Every attack revealed patterns. Every moment increased the pressure on Foreman because something unexpected was happening. The supposedly unstoppable champion was becoming tired, very tired. And that's another lesson hidden inside this story. Raw power burns fast, discipline lasts longer. Emotion burns fast, purpose lasts longer, motivation burns fast, commitment lasts longer. Many people start strong. Very few finish strong. Anyone can be excited for a day. Anyone can be motivated for a week. Anyone can feel inspired for a month. But can you continue when inspiration disappears? Can you continue when nobody notices? Can you continue when progress is invisible? That's where champions separate themselves. Not through intensity, through consistency. Round after round, Ali remained calm. Even while absorbing punishment, even while facing danger, even while millions doubted his strategy. Imagine the mental strength required. Most people panic when one thing goes wrong. One criticism ruins their day. One mistake destroys their confidence. One setback convinces them to quit. Meanwhile, Ali stood in front of one of the most dangerous fighters alive and remained composed. Because emotional control is a superpower. The ability to stay calm under pressure changes everything in business, in relationships, in communication, in leadership, in life. Anyone can stay calm when things are easy. The real test comes when chaos arrives, when pressure rises, when uncertainty grows. That's when your character is revealed. And Ali's character was extraordinary. Then came the turning point. The moment nobody expected. The moment history remembers. Foreman slowed down. His punches lost speed. His energy began fading. The giant who looked unstoppable was exhausted, and suddenly, everything changed. Muhammad Ali came alive. The patience ended. The waiting ended. The strategy revealed itself. Years later, people would call it the rope-a-dope, one of the most famous strategies in sports history. But in that moment, it was something even bigger. It was proof. Proof that intelligence can defeat brute force. Proof that timing matters. Proof that sometimes the strongest move is not attacking immediately. And then it happened. A combination. Fast, precise, perfect. Foreman fell. The stadium exploded. The world froze. Muhammad Ali had done it again. Against the odds, against expectations, against predictions. Against logic, he became heavyweight champion once more. One of the greatest comebacks in history. But let's pause right here, because if we only see a boxing victory, we miss the deeper lesson. The real victory wasn't over George Foreman. The real victory was over doubt, over fear, over time, over criticism, over every voice that said, "It's too late." How many people need to hear that today? It's too late. The sentence has destroyed countless dreams. Too late to start learning. Too late to build confidence. Too late to improve. Too late to change careers. Too late to become healthier. Too late to speak better English. Too late to chase purpose. Too late, too late, too late, but life keeps proving something remarkable. Human beings are capable of transformation far longer than they believe. The biggest obstacle is rarely age, it's identity. People become trapped by who they think they are. And because they believe they cannot change, they don't. Muhammad Ali refused that trap. He kept evolving, kept growing, kept adapting, kept fighting. And that's why his story continues to inspire generations. Not because he was perfect, because he was resilient, because he kept moving, because he refused to surrender his future to his circumstances. But life wasn't finished testing him. Not even close. Because sometimes the greatest victories are followed by the greatest challenges. Sometimes, after reaching the top, you face a battle that cannot be solved with strength, cannot be solved with speed, cannot be solved with strategy. A battle that forces you to confront something every human being fears. Time itself, years passed. The crowds continued cheering. The legacy continued growing. The legend became larger than life. But beneath the applause, something was changing. something invisible, something that no amount of determination could completely stop. The body that once moved like lightning was slowing down. The hands that once seemed impossible to hit were aging. And eventually, Muhammad Ali would face an opponent unlike any he had ever known. An opponent that never gets tired, never quits, never stops advancing. An opponent every one of us will eventually meet. The passage of time and the way he faced that final challenge may be the most powerful chapter of his entire story, because greatness is not revealed only in victory. Sometimes, greatness is revealed in how you endure suffering. And Muhammad Ali was about to show the world one final lesson, a lesson about courage that had nothing to do with boxing, a lesson that would make his legacy immortal. Most people think courage looks like a champion raising a trophy, a winner standing under bright lights, a hero celebrating victory. But life teaches a different lesson. Sometimes the greatest courage is not fighting an opponent. It's facing a reality you never wanted, a reality you cannot outrun, a reality you cannot defeat, a reality you must learn to live with. For Muhammad Ali, that reality arrived in the form of a disease. In 1984, he was diagnosed with Parkinson's syndrome. At first, many people didn't fully understand what was happening. But over time, the signs became impossible to ignore. His speech slowed. His movements changed. The body that once danced around opponents began to tremble. The man who seemed larger than life suddenly looked vulnerable, human, fragile, and that shocked people because deep down, we want our heroes to be invincible. We want to believe that extraordinary people somehow escape the struggles ordinary people face. But they don't. Heroes get sick. Heroes suffer. Heroes age. Heroes experience pain, just like everyone else. And maybe that's exactly why their stories matter. Not because they are superhuman, because they remain strong while being human. Imagine how difficult that must have been. Imagine spending your life being known for speed, then slowly losing it. Imagine spending your life speaking with confidence, then finding communication harder. Imagine knowing millions remember the strongest version of you. While you are forced to live through a weaker one, many people would become bitter. Many people would hide. Many people would surrender to despair. And honestly, who could blame them? But Muhammad Ali chose something different again. Throughout his life, whenever circumstances tried to define him, he answered with character. And now he did it once more. The disease affected his body, but it never conquered his spirit. That's an important distinction because life can damage many things. It can damage plans. It can damage careers. It can damage comfort. It can damage certainty. But only you decide whether it damages your spirit. That decision remains yours, always. As the years passed, Ali became something unexpected, not just a sports icon, not just a champion, not just a celebrity. He became a symbol of resilience, a symbol of dignity, a symbol of perseverance. People no longer admired him only because he won fights. They admired him because of how he carried suffering. And there is a profound lesson hidden there. Winning impresses people. Endurance inspires them. Anyone can admire success. But seeing someone continue despite hardship touches something deeper. It reminds us of our own struggles, our own battles, our own hidden pain, because everyone is fighting something, even if nobody sees it. The student battling self-doubt, the employee afraid of failure, the parent carrying invisible stress, the dreamer afraid to begin, the person learning a new language, and feeling embarrassed every day. The individual pretending to be okay while quietly hurting inside. Everyone is carrying something. And sometimes the strongest people are the ones who continue smiling while carrying heavy burdens. Muhammad Ali understood that burden. He lived it, yet he continued showing up, continued inspiring, continued serving others. One of the most unforgettable moments of his later life happened during the 1996 Olympic Games in Atlanta. Millions watched around the world. The stadium was packed, the atmosphere was electric. And then Muhammad Ali appeared, older now, his body visibly affected by Parkinson's, his hands trembling, his movements slower. For a brief moment, the world became silent, because people weren't looking at a boxer anymore. They were looking at a human being who had spent his entire life refusing to quit, a man who had been tested again and again and again, and still stood. As he carried the Olympic torch, something extraordinary happened. People became emotional. Many cried, not because they were seeing athletic greatness. They were witnessing something much deeper. Human courage, the kind of courage that survives when strength disappears. The kind of courage that survives when fame fades. The kind of courage that survives when life becomes difficult. That image remains unforgettable because it speaks to every human being. Every one of us will eventually lose something: youth, opportunities, certainty, relationships, health, time, life guarantees loss. But it also offers a choice. How will you respond? Will hardship make you smaller or stronger? Will suffering make you bitter or wiser? Will challenges destroy your identity or reveal it? Muhammad Ali answered those questions through the way he lived. And that's why his story continues long after the final bell rang. Because the most powerful stories are never about achievements alone, they're about transformation. Think about the young boy whose bicycle was stolen. Could he have imagined any of this? Could he have imagined becoming a world champion? A global icon? A symbol of courage? Probably not. And that's another lesson worth remembering. You don't need to see the entire path. You only need enough courage to take the next step. Most people stay stuck because they demand certainty. They want guarantees. They want proof. They want to know exactly how everything will unfold. Life rarely works that way. The future reveals itself one step at a time. Muhammad Ali didn't know where the stolen bicycle would lead. He simply followed the opportunity in front of him. One step, then another, and eventually those steps became history. The same is true for you. You don't need to know everything today. You don't need all the answers. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need complete confidence. You need movement. Forward movement. Because clarity often comes after action, not before it. Many people spend years preparing to live, preparing to start, preparing to become confident, preparing to chase their goals, preparing to become the person they want to be. And while they're preparing, life keeps moving. Days become months, months become years, years become decades. Then one day they wake up and wonder where the time went. Muhammad Ali understood something many people never learn. Life rewards action. Imperfect action. Messy action. Uncertain action. But action nonetheless. And perhaps that's why his words still resonate today. Not because they sound motivational. Because they contain truth. One of his most famous ideas was simple. Don't count the days. Make the days count. Think about that. How many people are simply waiting for motivation, waiting for confidence, waiting for the perfect opportunity, waiting for fear to disappear, waiting for life to begin. Meanwhile, life is already happening right now. This moment, this day, this hour, this conversation, time is passing whether you use it or not. And one day, just like everyone before us, we will look back. The question is, what will we see? A life controlled by fear? Or a life shaped by courage? A life built on excuses? Or a life built on effort? A life spent hiding? Or a life spent growing? Muhammad Ali's answer was clear. He chose growth again and again, even when it hurt, even when it cost him, even when it was unpopular, even when it was difficult. And that's why people remember him. Not because he never fell, because he kept getting up. Not because he never suffered, because he refused to surrender. Not because he was fearless, because he moved forward despite fear. That distinction changes everything. Fearlessness is rare. Courage is available to everyone, including you right now, today, in whatever battle you're facing. Maybe your battle isn't inside a boxing ring. Maybe it's inside your mind. Maybe you're fighting self-doubt. Maybe you're fighting procrastination. Maybe you're fighting anxiety. Maybe you're fighting embarrassment. Maybe you're fighting the voice that keeps saying, "You're not good enough." Muhammad Ali's story offers an answer to that voice. Don't listen. Keep moving. Keep learning. Keep showing up. Keep fighting. Because the people who change their lives are rarely the most talented. They are the people who refuse to quit. And if there is one lesson that echoes through every chapter of Muhammad Ali's life, it is this: life will hit you hard, sometimes unfairly, sometimes repeatedly, sometimes when you least expect it. But your future will not be decided by the punches you receive. It will be decided by whether you stand back up, again and again and again. That was Muhammad Ali's gift to the world, a reminder that greatness is not perfection. Greatness is persistence. Greatness is character. Greatness is refusing to surrender when surrender seems reasonable. The boy who lost a bicycle became a champion. The champion who lost his title became a legend. The legend who lost his physical strength became a symbol of courage. And through every stage of that journey, one truth remained unchanged. Muhammad Ali refused to give up. So before you leave today, remember this: your current struggle is not your final chapter. Your mistakes are not your identity. Your fears are not your destiny. Your setbacks are not your ending. The story is still being written. And somewhere in your future, there is a stronger version of you waiting to be created. The only question is, will you keep going long enough to meet them? Because the bell has not rung. The fight is not over. And just like Muhammad Ali, you may be far stronger than you realize.